Atomic Habits, Chapter 20, The Downside of Creating Good Habits. This is the final chapter, and I'm really happy with myself and also very proud that I've managed to finish this book and record each chapter. It may not be the format that I'll follow in the future, but it is something that I set out to do for myself, and I've implemented some very important things that were discussed in this book for creating these videos, and it's really helped immensely. So I would definitely recommend that everybody reads this book. What I've done here is summarize and somewhat analyze the chapters, but by no means have I taken away the fact that you should actually go and read this book. So let's begin. The chapter starts off with the following passage: Habits create the foundation for mastery. In chess, it is only after the basic movements of the pieces have become automatic that a player can focus on the next level of the game. Each chunk of information that is memorized opens up the mental space for more effortful thinking. This is true for any endeavor. When you know the simple movements so well that you can perform them without thinking, you're free to pay attention to more advanced details. In this way, habits are the backbone of any pursuit of excellence. Without first fixing your sleep schedule, you can hardly begin to plan your day, for example. This is something that it seems apparent, but a lot of people dismiss. How will you plan out your breakfast or even prepare your lunch for the day if you're going to work if you don't wake up on time to do so? I've had many days where I wake up in the morning and I'm already running late for work. So, what happens then is I forget to eat breakfast. I forget to take the lunch with me that I or my family prepared for me the other day, or the leftover food I have in the fridge because I'm in a rush. You see, without the proper habits in place to begin with, your mind is in shambles. So fixing your sleep schedule is a really good example of that. So how can habits hurt your progress if they're basically essential for living a healthy and a happy life? The reason for that is creating habits mean repetition. Repetition leads to performing actions unconsciously. And when you perform actions unconsciously, it will lead to mistakes, or you will simply become less sensitive to feedback. For example, if I start boxing, let's say, I get a good baseline of what a jab is, what a cross is, what a hook is, and I start going into combos. Let's say that I start focusing too much on combos and I start forgetting about the foundation of what a good cross looks like, or what a good jab looks like, or what a good hook looks like, the body movement of performing these punches. Then no matter how intricate or how complicated my combos are, I don't have a good foundation. Somewhere somehow I got lost, and need to revisit it to make sure that the combinations that I'm coming up with are actually effective. So habits are very important for a baseline or a foundation, but by no means does every habit need to be repetitive, because some habits are simply circumstantial. Um, when you fall into this area of repetition, this is called mindless repetition on autopilot. You're just doing things unconsciously, simply because you feel that you have a system going, and you're improving, but in reality, you're not improving. It's not always the case, but with certain things it is, and we'll discuss that further in just a moment. So here's a passage from the book. The upside of habits is that we can do things without thinking. The downside of habits is that you get used to doing things a certain way and stop paying attention to little errors. You assume you're getting better because you're gaining experience. In reality, you're merely reinforcing your current habits, not improving them. In fact, some research has shown that once a skill has been mastered, there is usually a slight decline in performance over time. So, what is the formula for mastery then? Habits plus deliberate practice equals mastery. Habits being the unconscious part and deliberate practice being the conscious part. When you put these two together, it leads to mastery. So the first part is understanding what things need to be unconscious. And then the other part is what things need to be deliberately practiced. So the example I gave of boxing, the unconscious part could be, let's say, showing up or um, practicing jabs or crosses or something like that, right? The punches. The deliberate practice would be to start making the combinations and then reflecting how effective they are and trying to understand why some combinations may not be as effective as they could be, right? So let's say you have a combination of you throw a jab, then you throw a cross, and then you go for a hook to the body, and in on paper it sounds like it's a pretty effective combo, but there's something going wrong in uh, performing this combination. So that's the deliberate practice. You're reflecting. To become great, certain skills do need to become automatic. This does not mean that all skills need to become automatic, as they vary depending on circumstances. Mastery is the process of narrowing your focus to a tiny element of success, repeating it until you have internalized the skill, and then using this new habit as a foundation to advance to the next frontier for your development. Old tasks become easier the second time around, but it doesn't get easier overall because now you're pouring your energy into the next challenge. Each habit unlocks the next level of performance. It's an endless cycle. So here's a graph of what mastering one habit looks like. We've seen this before. This is just how often you repeat it and how long it will take for for a habit to become automatic, like after how many repetitions. And then this is what mastering a field looks like. It's a stack of habits. You repeat one habit, it becomes automatic. Then you start repeating the next habit, it becomes automatic. Then you start repeating the next habit, it becomes automatic. So there's a level of consistency in there. To continue growth, there must be a system of reflection. So we discussed this a little bit before, but here's a passage discussing it further. Reflection can also bring a sense of perspective. Daily habits are powerful because of how they compound, but worrying too much about every daily choice is like looking at yourself in the mirror from an inch away. You can see every imperfection and lose sight of the bigger picture. There's too much feedback. Conversely, never reviewing your habits is like never looking in the mirror. You aren't aware of easily fixable flaws. A spot on your shirt, a bit of food in your teeth, there is too little feedback. Periodic reflection and review is like viewing yourself in the mirror from a conversational distance. You can see the important changes you should make without losing sight of the bigger picture. You want to view the entire mountain range, not obsess over each peak and valley. So here's a bullet I wrote for it. Reflection reviews your identity. The tighter we cling to an identity, the harder it becomes to grow past it. So let's say, for example, um, you like going to the gym, and the gym becomes your identity. And uh, let's say you get into an accident and you mess up your arm or your leg, and for a month or two, you're not able to go to the gym. Then this would lead to an identity crisis because something that you enjoyed doing so much that it was part of your identity and you're unable to do it now will cause you mental pain, psychological pain, because it was so deeply rooted in your identity. So it's very important to reflect and to keep your identity to very small things. There's a passage that briefly explains this. One solution is to avoid making any single aspect of your identity an overwhelming portion of who you are. In the words of investor Paul Graham? I don't know if I said that right. Graham. Keep your identity small. The more you let a single belief define you, the less capable you are of adapting when life challenges you. If you tie everything up in being the point guard or the partner at the firm or whatever else, then the loss of that facet of your life will wreck you. If you're a vegan and then develop a health condition that forces you to change your diet, you'll have an identity crisis on your hands. When you cling too tightly to one identity, you become brittle. Lose that one thing and you lose yourself. Here's a quote from Tao Te Ching that is also mentioned in the book. Men are born soft and supple. Dead, they're stiff and hard. Plants are born tender and pliant. Dead, they're brittle and dry. Thus, whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. The hard and stiff will be broken, the soft and supple will prevail. That's a really good quote, actually. And then here's how James Clear closes this chapter off. A lack of self awareness is poison. Reflection and review is the antidote. I do want to talk a little bit more about this, but let's go to the conclusion first. There is an ancient Greek parable known as the Sorite's paradox, which talks about the effect one small action can have when repeated enough times. One formulation of the paradox goes as follows. Can one coin make a person rich? If you give a person a pile of 10 coins, you wouldn't claim that he or she is rich. But what if you add another, and another, and another? At some point, you will have to admit that no one can be rich unless one coin can make him or her so. We can say the same about atomic habits. Can one tiny change transform your life? It's unlikely you would say so. But what if you made another, and another, and another? At some point, you will have to admit that your life was transformed by one small change. The secret to getting results that last is to never stop making improvements. It's remarkable what you can build if you just don't stop. It's remarkable the business you can build if you don't stop working. It's remarkable the body you can build if you don't stop training. It's remarkable the knowledge you can build if you don't stop learning. And it's remarkable the fortune you can build if you don't stop saving. It's remarkable the friendships you can build if you don't stop caring. Small habits don't add up, they compound. This was the end of the book, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. It is in the category of self-help, and I'm very either turned on or turned off by self-help books because they can be a hit or miss. You know, some are great like Atomic Habits, while other are like snake oil, snake oil merchants just trying to sell you something that is either obvious or it just doesn't work. But I would say Atomic Habits is one of the better books, and it's definitely worth a read. I do want to go back on this. A lack of self-awareness is poison. Reflection and review is the antidote. I would highly recommend that you start a journal. It doesn't have to be about habits. It doesn't have to be about anything specific. It could just be your thoughts. But journaling is a great way to understand how you think inside. You know, sometimes we put up a second face to society just to fit in, and we start losing our identity. When we do that, we start becoming part of a hive mind. We start thinking the same as everybody else. Social media is a great example of this. When you see anything political on social media, I'm saying this from my personal life when I was younger. If I saw anything political on social media and it was highly appraised, a lot of people liked it, a lot of people left good comments, positive comments on it, then that subconsciously became my political belief too. My identity was lost basically because I chose to pick up somebody else's identity that was highly appraised. So journaling has helped me a lot in understanding who I am as a person and what my beliefs are. And once you start to understand that, you can start to refine those beliefs and change them to fit in the modern world and help you succeed in some ways that you may not have even thought of. Simply put, journaling is a great way to reflect what your shortcomings are and what things are positive about yourself. It's a great way to give yourself some reaffirmation about the good things you're doing, and it's also a great way to acknowledge the bad things that exist in your life. It helps you avoid ignorance. That's all I had to say. But again, I'm really happy that I got through this book the way I did. I'm not sure about what I'll be reading next and how the videos will be formatted, but I will be releasing at least one video per week. That's currently um, my goal now, and that's how I've oriented my system to be. But maybe in the future I can do more than one video. Only time will tell. But uh, I was really happy with the returns I've gotten so far from just this book. They're not massive, but they're enough to show me that hey, there is a possibility if I just keep making videos. So if you tuned in and you made it to the end, thank you so much. It means a lot. It shows that hey, I'm improving in some way that somebody's willing to go through this entire video, no matter how boring it will be. Um, but yeah, uh, expect more videos in the future, and I will see you whenever I see you. Thank you and have a nice day.